Sup, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the hottest topic in Genshin Impact, right? It's a topic regarding whether or not Hoyoverse is losing steam, whether or not Hoyoverse is losing interest, and they're slowly diverting away from Genshin Impact, and it's evident to some people that the recent bugs that have been appearing in the newest characters, being Yamiko and now Ayato, make people feel uneasy, alright? It makes people feel that Hoyoverse doesn't care as much anymore. This didn't used to be as big of an issue, and the thing with Yamiko, we'll talk in detail regarding what's going on over there, but with Ayato and going forward, what should the player base expect when it comes to quality of character releases? Are beta players just not giving good enough feedback? What is a potential solution, or is there really even a problem to begin with? We're going to cover all this in today's video. All right, with that said, make sure to like, subscribe. We talk about Genshin every single day of the week, and of course it's free to do so, and you can cancel anytime. All right, let's start by going over all the things that essentially now exploded onto the scene, whether it's in CN, EN, KR, JP, whatever you want to, like, people are upset. All right, and I want to show you guys just how many things the player base has been bottling up. Now, first and foremost, it's that the fact that character bugs are now becoming a little more common. Followed by that, there has been no new system upgrades, both for the overworld nor the teapot in the past 2 patches. Players have also been mentioning that story quality in the region of Inazuma just felt off ever since the beginning, and in a way you can say it's lazy, or in a way you can say it's generic. It doesn't matter. People have felt that in parts of Inazuma storylines, it's lacking some sort of impact, right? You can even say that it's missing the impact in Genshin Impact. It's just Genshin now. Furthermore, unit designs have also been said to be generic with little variance and uniqueness. So a good example of that is the argument people always say that every other unit now is released has this overworked trope to them that just makes them seem busy, but really takes the uniqueness away from each character, right? And another very common one is the fact that events are rehashed and lacks creativity, and their main purpose is to build artificial playtime for Hoyoverse and to milk player hours in exchange for Primogems, right? All in all, a lack of effort in comparison to when the game first came out is what the player base seems to be saying. Now, I've kind of just glossed over all of them. I would like to go back and answer each and every one of them. So if you guys want to come along on this journey, I'm going to try to keep it as short as I can as to not waste your time, but there's a lot to be digested here, and I understand the frustration is surely building up. You know why? Because we've seen the exact same thing back in patch 1.4, 1.5, and eventually that led to 1.6, and then finally the release of 2.0, where people kind of just forgot about it. And for you guys who are newer to the game, who have never been through this process, welcome to Genshin, baby. I mean, after the first 3 to 4 patches after the new region comes out, we enter what is called a slow patch, and in the slow patch, a lot of things can piss you the hell off, and right now I can see that tension building up once again, and nothing Hoyoverse can do right now, with the exception to releasing Dendro alongside Sumeru, is going to quench people's thirst. And my goal today is not to defend Hoyoverse, nor is it to hate on them. I want to point out a couple things, and remember, you don't have to agree with me, right? I'm here sharing what I think is contributing to these issues, and at the same time try and add to this perspective. I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. So going from the first one, is Hoyoverse losing interest in Genshin Impact? This one is very difficult for us to tell, and I don't want to dwell on this one too long, because the answer to this lies in Sumeru. And this is not me trying to deflect or anything. I'm just saying, if Hoyoverse right now is truly putting in all the attention and effort for Sumeru and making sure that Dendro is also a balanced element on its release, we have to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they could be just diverting a lot of resources and attention towards Sumeru and Dendro right now. So I don't want to say Hoyoverse is losing interest in Genshin Impact just because a couple bugs and, you know, they're reusing content. Who knows, right? Maybe Sumeru is going to blow us away. All right, let's move on to the next one, and that is character bugs are becoming more common. This is something that does worry me, because it could be a lack of many factors. It could be that department for character design is getting lazy. It could be that they're actively taking away resources from certain departments to add them for the Sumeru department when it comes to elemental balancing around Dendro characters and Sumeru in general. And how much resource are they actually pouring in, or are they just feeling lazy? It's difficult to tell right now, and I don't think it's anything to do with the beta testers. I think beta testers have always been consistently giving the feedback, and it's up to the design team and balance team and whatever to finalize everything and then release the unit. However, I do want to note that regarding Yae Miko, let's be honest, people, ever since the beginning, Hoyoverse has had a very tough time trying to figure out AI targeting. Their bow users, I think many people don't like them. It's mainly because of their AI targeting. It doesn't even have to be bow units, right? For characters even like Hu Tao with her dash attacks fighting the Sinsin mages butterflies, it's really annoying. They don't have proper AI priority. They don't have good AI targeting bow users after a certain range, and you're hitting nothing. And even while you're in range, with different vertical enemy positioning can also throw off your targeting. It's always been a thorn in Hoyoverse's side, this targeting system, and with Yae Miko also revolving around AI targeting, I wasn't too surprised that they kind of screwed up or it didn't feel as good. In fact, I was very happy with what Yae Miko's AI targeting was like, because I haven't ran into specific issues where it kind of screwed me over in the Abyss. Let's be honest, I don't use these characters in the overworld. I have specific teams I run in the overworld, and I know there are some issues with Yae Miko in the overworld where her elemental skill will prioritize like inanimate objects over actual enemies and threat. But so far in the Abyss, for me, I found that the old Yae Miko was better, and obviously Hoyoverse feel the same with their announcement of reverting Yae Miko's change. I know it's funny, it's ludicrous, but it's just something that Hoyoverse has never been able to get right, and I don't know going forward if they want to divert any attention to figuring this out. They might just wholeheartedly give up on AI targeting systems and make bow users more support heavy, play in the background, or make you aim the shot yourself like with Ganyu. There's many play arounds for them to not rely on their shitty AI system, and I think that's going to be what they do. Unfortunately, just expect less and less AI reliant units in the future. Now, the next point is there has been no new system upgrades, both for the overworld nor the teapot. This is another thing that we can attribute to the quick arrival of Sumeru and Dendro, and that a lot of things may come with that particular patch. Now, this is the thing, right? Like, trust me, if that patch does come and none of this stuff happens, right, it's still the same stuff. Rehashed events, rehashed content, and recycled news and whatnot with buggy character releases, then we can start to rile up. Because if Dendro turns out to be some very minor changes and adjustments to some elements, right, Pyro still stupidly broken along with Hydro and Cryo, Electro is doo-doo water, while Geo and Anemo don't play with each other, nor do they play with Dendro, then we got a problem. Then, because then we can really question what on earth Hoyoverse has been doing for the past 3 to 5 months. So the next point being that players have mentioned that story quality in the region of Inazuma has been feeling suboptimal, and this one I can agree as well. I studied creative writing in school, and I know that it doesn't give me much credit to say I studied something. I've had to break down different stories, and both popular, not popular, and to a certain degree I understand what's a good story. There's a hook, there's a theme, and characters are engaging, they're multi-dimensional, they're not just flat surface. Even though we say 2D, right, you don't want your characters to be 2D when they're talked about from a story's perspective. You want your characters to have different layers, and it's true that I feel there is this trope of characters lacking uniqueness in Genshin. I've talked about this on stream, saying that one of the main reasons is because we, ever since getting into Inazuma, have been getting into contact with a lot of diplomats. We have been into contact with a lot of people who are in the military, and these things usually require them to be uniform. It usually means that they are dealing with a lot of stress, and it's easy to write these characters with certain tropes from such stereotypes. And I think if we are to point at Hoyoverse's laziness from their writers, it's to point at the fact that they're over reliant on certain stereotypes lives, as opposed to saying they are simply lazy. I think there are ways for them to integrate more vibrance into their characters and storylines, even for the land of Inazuma, but I do feel like in a way they're grasping at something that's more serious and realistic in terms of characters' relatability and what drives them. Of course, when I say realistic, I'm not saying like they want it to look and feel like the real world. Of course, in the real world, you don't see Joe Biden coming out with an electro vision and smiting his enemies with thunder and lightning, right? That's not what I mean. So I know there's going to be at least one comment in saying like, oh, if they're going for realism, why do people get to, have animal ears? You know who you are. That's not what I mean. So finally, we land on the topic of events being rehashed and lacks creativity. This is something that I've mentioned a lot in the past, is that I'm not a big fan of a big portion of these events. I'd rather that they tidy up some of the events and just have a couple of the bigger ones, as opposed to one big one with like 4, 5, 6 small ones that are very mundane and usually just force you to interact with the world that they've built. Because let's be honest, why do they make you go out and take pictures of flowers? Why do they make you explore obscure regions of the land to find little trinkets? It's all to force you to engage with this world that is utterly barren, with its only incentives being primo gems. Now, of course, no one's forcing you to do these events, with the exception of a couple thousand primo gems if you choose to ignore them. And most free-to-plays don't have the luxury to say, I'm not going to play this event, I'm going to play that event. They don't have the luxury to pick and choose what they want to play if they also want to maximize their primo gems gain. So that's what Hoyoverse is playing to. They want the player base logging in to kind of check off the list of things they have to do in order to collect their primo gems without it being incentivized by having good content, engaging content, and having players willingly come online to do these things. All right, it's lazy in a way, and they found what works and what events get them good attention and play rate. And of course, through the surveys, they know what events are popular, and I'm sure that those events are what they are preferring to bring back into the game. Yeah, it's rehashed, it's old, and a lot of people don't seem to enjoy these events, but at this time we just have to pick and choose what we want to play. We don't have much to choose from, right? And again, back to the sentiment that, remember, an entire new region is coming along with a new element that's going to interact with the current existing ones. People, it's not as easy, with them also knowing that they have very little room to make nerfs and changes once this has been released. They really need to get this down right from the get-go. All right, that's all I want to talk about this. I don't want to shit on Mihoyo, and I'm not out here saying what they're doing is right. I think there's a lot they need to work on, both for the story, the events, for character quality control, as well as being consistent with feature updates for currently existing systems in the game. I'm looking towards Hoyoverse over the next 2 to 3 patches to make some serious either announcements or content updates for the game, because the first drought back in patch 1.0 to 2.0 lasted about 3 patches. Currently we are about 3 patches into the drought, and if they don't come out with something good for Sumeru and Dendro, it's gonna make people really lose heart. And with the 2nd anniversary soon to follow after that, let's be honest, maybe we're gonna get 10 files this year instead of 5. I think it's really sad that people have now come to expect the worst from Hoyoverse as opposed to sitting in anticipation. And I don't think it should be that way. And they have an opportunity here to make things right with the player base, and I hope they take this opportunity to set things right. What's gone is gone. The players who have quit, but Hoyoverse, you gotta really try to keep this batch of players. You want to make them loyal to you, then you first have to show them humility. You have to show them that you deserve their respect and their trust. So looking forward to Sumeru hitting it out of the park, and until next time, urge y'all to stay safe. Peace. Let me know what you guys think.